What's up, you guys? I had an interview with Joshua Spodek, and this is just one part of it. I think that you guys should watch this entire video series from part one if you can. So if you haven't watched part one already, start at part one and watch through it. Every single part of this talk was amazing. A lot of it was very motivating, very powerful, and I just found it so important in terms of learning about leadership and how to lead in the environment. It's a fantastic talk. I highly recommend starting from part one. This is the final part, part four. Give it a listen.
500 years from now, maybe 1,000 people will still be dealing with that garbage.
Yeah.
And we saved a couple cents. As it happens, by meeting the farmers, I get a lot of free vegetables. So I'm actually spending less money. Community.
Yep.
And by buying in season, it's more delicious and cheaper. You should see, I had no idea that spinach came in leaves the size of it looks like something a brontosaurus would eat. I had not this big, but really big.
Sure.
And same with the kale and all these collard greens and stuff that I never bought before. I couldn't tell the difference between two different types of kale, or kale and chard, or chard or spinach. And now I love the difference. The nuances are so much more rewarding in flavor than the pow of a Dorito.
Right.
I have more sweetness in my life from these apples. So this apple is bruised and therefore free, and it'll taste exactly the same. And the nuance between that apple and this apple is going to be more pleasing to me than Ben and Jerry's. It's got more sweetness now that my taste buds have recovered. I've been to the mountaintop and I've seen the promised land. I've got a taste of it.
Right.
And in that promised land, there's more sweetness despite less sugar.
Mm-hmm.
More convenience despite less packaging.
Mm-hmm.
More family despite less flying.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, because of less flying. It's not despite, it's all because. More sweetness because no refined sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Less packaging, more convenience because no packaging. I can't stand when someone says, this plastic wrapping allows produce to stay fresher longer. The net result is we have less fresh produce,
right?
Because we package it.
I also would almost debate that a vegetable would stay fresher longer because it's wrapped in plastic packaging too. I'm not sure about the science behind that one.
You have to look at the systemic effect. Once you can keep it longer, we will keep it longer. Meanwhile, we ripened it by throwing some chemical in with the mix just before it got to the store, shipped across the country.
Right.
And so I only get strawberries a month, maybe 6 weeks out of the year, because I only get them when they're here. But my joy of strawberries is much greater because I can't wait for them. The cherries, the strawberries come around the same time of year. I'm like, oh, I can't wait. And then I don't get them for 10 months. But then the peaches come in. We're just finished with the pomegranates.
Mm-hmm.
And what are those things I just had a couple of years ago for the quince? Quince are incredibly delicious. Yeah, it's like a big pear.
I don't know anything about quince. Huh.
And most people, all the recipes were they say it's not sweet enough to eat. It looks like a big pear.
Uh-huh. And
they smell unbelievable.
Huh.
They're when a quince is around, you're like, wow, quince smells really good. I like an apple. It smells like an apple, but it's 1/10 of what you get when you have a quince. But I've gone so long without eating sugar stuff that the quince is really sweet to me. So I don't mix it all with sugar. I just eat it. The first time I did it, I stewed it with some other fruit so it would get sweeter. Uh-huh. And I was like, oh, let me taste it. I was like, this is really good. And it grows around here. Pawpaws, and Concord grapes are stuff around here is as delicious as anywhere in the world. Yeah. I mean, I love durian. I like that. I acquired the taste. And if I never have another durian in my life because I don't actually go to where they grow, I'm not gonna lie on my deathbed being like, darn, I missed it. And for that matter, that's driving me to sail across the Pacific. Someday I'll make it there. Yeah. I intend to have Thai food in Thailand because I love it so much.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sail there.
Yeah. It sounds to me like despite the fact that you are I don't want to use the word limiting, but limiting yourself to just, regional vegetables and regional fruits and things. It sounds like you are still experiencing more variety of fruits and vegetables than I do shopping at a regular supermarket.
That has been my experience, yes. I mean, it's possible that I'll get bored of it after a while, but I doubt it. The trend so far has been increasing. And, they say the newly converted are the most pious or something like that, the most into it. And I'm 6, 7 years into this. So it might run out, but it feels like it's increasing.
Doesn't seem likely in your case.
Yeah, because I'm learning, like now I'm fermenting stuff, and like I got some kvass over there and the vinegars. I just made some vinegar. Those oranges oranges don't grow on here. The reason I have those oranges that I showed you earlier was that the city during COVID was giving away free food to people who were in need. And I was coming home from, I don't know where, and I was passing by one of these places, and they were throwing out bags and bags and bags of oranges.
Huh.
So in the trash bags, the oranges are already in the trash bags to be picked up and thrown away. And I was like, can I have some? So I had my bag, I fill up my bag, I got 50 oranges, free. So I eat stuff that was like, if it's being thrown away, then I'll take that.
Nice.
So even though the oranges didn't grow near here, and they had stickers on them, so they're like, that to me is packaged. And then I had them in the freezer for a while, and then I was doing this thing of seeing how long I could go without using a refrigerator, because people didn't have refrigerators for a long time, and seeing how far I could get with just using the cold from the windowsill and fermenting stuff and just eating quickly. Here's a place where it would be a lot easier if it wasn't just me.
Sure.
If it was other people to eat the stuff quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But so I unplugged the fridge. I had to take the, 2 or 3 dozen oranges that were in the freezer at the time, because that's how many I'd gone through. I was like, what do I do with these? And I had some vodka from before. I don't know how long I had that vodka, because I don't drink very much. And so I was just like, I'll put the oranges in vodka. Oh my God, it tastes so good. And now I haven't really started doing alcohol, but I've noticed that you make wine on the way to make vinegar. Oh. So I'll probably, maybe at some point I'll start going into alcohol, but that's a little ways off. I'm reading more and more about fermentation.
So the limits are leading you to more variety.
Yeah. Have I told you about Low Tech Magazine, one of my favorite sites on the internet?
Yeah, you have. I need to look into that a little more. I need to spend some more time on that site.
That guy, I think the top of the page says, because we love technology. And people think people associate high tech with like the latest stuff, and it tends to be stuff that uses a lot of power. Mm-hmm. But he writes about over and over again tools that began with like screwdrivers and hammers and drills, and then they got improved and improved and improved and improved. And then the shift always and then maybe it's something about how to grow plants or how to build buildings. And it's all this clever and amazing stuff of how they did it. And then eventually fossil fuels would replace whatever they did before. Mm. And so now we have power drills that aren't actually that much more effective than the things from before.
Right.
And so if you actually love technology, you love food. I think people who eat out all the time, I don't think they love food. I think they love this weird experience.
Convenience.
Yeah, they love being served. I look at human beings for all of human history, something like, 200,000 years, 300,000 years. They drank mother's milk and then water. Now, people act like they're deprived if they don't have a whole a refrigerated section full of mild variety, like different types of water, so vitamin water and water from Fiji and stuff like that. And to me, I see that, let alone how many types of soda, which is like very unhealthy, I don't have to say. And I look at that and I'm like, this is Romans with their peeled grapes, of like emperors having people fan them. And we're so entitled.
Yeah.
Hence the addiction. Everything has to be handed to us. It's all pleasure, no reward. No, it's all pleasure, no meaning or purpose.
Right.
I'll take meaning or purpose any day over just everything handed to you. I mean, we've all seen Wall-E, and we're living it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's scary how much that movie can hit true. It says that it's, a movie about a possible future, but there's a lot of people who could argue that we're living that life right now.
It's a mild caricature of our life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, we've already been going for over an hour now. I had so much more that I wanted to talk to you about, but this was already a really, really good start. We talked a lot about leadership, and if I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong on this, but if we were to boil down your concept of leadership into one small package, it's know the walk by walking the walk yourself, and then connecting to people where they are, connecting with them on a personal level and hearing their experiences and getting to know them and connecting with them.
Yeah, the way I usually describe my style of leadership is behave and communicate in ways that make other people feel comfortable sharing what motivates them, which normally they don't share because it makes them feel vulnerable. We've all been hurt, we've all been laughed at or ridiculed, and talking about the environment. People have been called greenwashing and hypocritical. So behave and communicate in ways to make the other person feel comfortable sharing what motivates them. And then if you can connect what motivates them to a task, then you will have imbued that task with meaning for them, and they'll do it for themselves, not for you. In the case of the environment, everyone has something inside them that's deeply powerful, tremendously powerful, way more powerful than anything you could possibly impose on them. Because of we're born of the environment, and we need it to live, and we need it for our children to live. And so it's there. Very few people support the other person, don't judge the other person, listen to the other person so that the other person shares these things. I've been talking all this time, so I've been trying to lead you in this conversation. Maybe I'm the role model for others. I'm also, I'm testing the waters of sharing more openly. I shared a lot of things here that I've said to friends, but not really on recordings. But
we can leave it for another time. I think we've covered a lot of ground today, and I am still really, really interested to hear a lot more about what you have to say, not just on just kind of the methodology of the leadership stuff, but also the how we can go about applying that methodology to groups that you haven't tried with, or I don't know, maybe you have tried with, but I just don't know about it. Reaching the mainstream audience with this kind of methodology, or how can we approach social media? How does this methodology translate over social media? Or for somebody like me who's doing a YouTube channel, what is the best way to lead people when you're not actually face to face talking with them? So those are all things that I'm really, really excited to get your opinions on, and I would love to have you back on to talk again.
I'll be happy to. And I forgot one of the big leadership thing, which you're part of, is that for reaching new audiences is to have other people start new offshoots of this sustainable life. Because I'm not going to reach 7.8 billion people, but they all want to be reached in that they all want a cleaner world. So you're going to reach an audience that I'm not going to reach, and all the others that you know, because there's England, Italy, Sweden, likely soon in Myanmar and Brooklyn, in Chicago, another person possibly.
Wow.
And maybe you'll find maybe people listen to you, and you will start a further offshoot.
I hope so.
Yeah, it feels great when other people start picking up the mantle and running with it, and then doing things that I never would have thought of, and reaching people I never would have reached.
Yeah.
And then I learn from them.
And speaking of people reaching you or you reaching other people, if people want to find you, where would be the best place for people to go to find out more about you, or what's something you want people to know? Well,
joshuaspodek.com is where everything is. And so in the upper right corner, you can click to podcast, or you can read the blog. I recommend the books. Initiative is one of the books. And people can ask you what the experience is of working through the exercises and initiative.
At least partially anyway. I haven't finished them yet, but I'm working through them.
And well, how so far?
So far, it's been, really, really good. I've learned a lot about myself more than anything.
And has it increased your initiative skills?
Definitely. It has definitely challenged me in ways that I wouldn't have thought would be difficult for me before, but after going through them and actually having to take on some of these different challenges, I was definitely met with a lot of just new personal challenges that I had never faced before. But the book and talking to you had it builds up nicely. Your methodology is really good for kind of building you through it really nicely and kind of always just taking you to the next step without making that step too big.
When you say there's big challenges, is it just challenge? I mean, is there a benefit or is it just challenge?
No, there's definitely benefits. I mean, so I don't have to tell you, but for anyone else who's listening, there are reflections at the end of every single step that you do. And those reflections are usually what are probably the most valuable part of each one, because you're forced to sit down and evaluate yourself, but also the book makes sure to ask you a lot about, what was your emotional state at the time? Did you feel stressed? Did you feel happy? Did you feel proud? And just putting yourself through those challenges, and then after taking time to reflect on them and internalize them and just kind of recognize what it felt like to do it and what it meant to you to get it done, it can be a really, really big confidence booster. And yeah, it's been a good experience, but I'm not finished yet. I'm excited to get through all of it, but
I'm kind of indulging myself in asking the questions because I kind of knew where it was going to go.
Yeah, no, please. And so yeah, definitely, I would recommend everybody go out and check out that book.
Also, on all the exercises that you've done, how much have you spent so far?
How much have I spent money-wise?
Yeah.
Almost zero. I had to spend a little bit because I live in Japan and I was having to make international calls to America, but that was $3 for a Skype unlimited calls to America subscription. So I spent $3, but other than that, nothing.
Yeah. It's really, it's very important for me that the things that I do be accessible to others. How much time have you spent on it?
That's actually a really, really good question, because with some of the tougher challenges, it was definitely a matter of me just trying to get myself to do it and fighting myself and recognizing that I was just making excuses to get out of doing something. And if you add all of that time into it, it's probably a lot more, but I don't know. I would say through episode 6, definitely a good hour or 2 per exercise, I would say. Maybe a little bit more in some cases, a little less in others, but yeah, so I'd say a good 10 to 12 hours maybe. Okay. Maybe more, because some of those calls were also a little long. Some of the calls that I made.
How much of that was talking with friends?
Yeah, so a lot of it, definitely was talking with friends and family. Because that was another one of kind of the unintended benefits that come of taking on the challenges, that you end up contacting a lot of friends and family, and in a lot of cases I haven't talked to a lot of people in years in some cases, so it was really good to catch up with a lot of people and spend a lot of time doing that too.
So they're fun conversations, right? Yeah. There's a challenge on your part of growth of developing these new skills.
Yes.
But I anticipate, I would, correct me if I'm wrong, but from their experience of it was just oh, he's doing this cool thing and he's asking me for advice about it.
Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely something that I experience as I do it. I don't know how to describe it. It was connecting with friends and family in a way that I had never done so before. So it was it was a unique experience. Even friends that I've been great friends with for a long time, I was having conversations and talking to them about things and in ways that I had never talked to them before. And
yeah, these exercises force some of the stuff that I was talking about earlier of like listening to the other person and behaving, communicating in ways so that they feel comfortable sharing stuff that they normally wouldn't, which is how I approach environmental things. I'm not trying to tell people what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if there was no science and or if there was science and it had not been shared, mm-hmm. I would say number one priority, get the numbers, share get that stuff out there. But it's out there now. We don't need, of course, get more, but we don't need more.
Right.
In fact, we knew enough decades ago. So anyway.
Now we just need more action.
More leadership.
More leadership. Well, that's what I'm striving to do, and I'm hoping I'll get to talk to you more about that soon.
Well, you took initiative. You're on your way there. I predict that I can't say already because you haven't posted your first episodes yet of the podcast, but you will soon be at the forefront of global leadership on sustainability. Now, you won't be on the forefront of global management, you won't be at the forefront of people telling others what to do, because there's a lot more people have been doing that for a long time. Uh-huh. But in terms of leading others, once you start leading 2 or 3 people, you will have led more than almost anyone. And once you get up to thousands of people, and your personal experience is like you're getting really strong at it, maybe you'll be a CSO of some company someday, because there's no path to that right now. CSO, Chief Sustainability Officer. Uh-huh. There's huge leadership opportunities. So
we'll have to see.
Yeah, people who act now have a route to become great leaders.
God, I hope so. Well, that's exactly what I'm hoping to talk more with you about next time. So I'm looking forward to our next chat.
Me too. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks very much for coming on. I was so interested to hear so much of what he had to say that we went through an hour so quickly, and I still had so many more questions for him. Today, we focused more on leadership and making your life more fulfilling by living by your values. But in the future, we do plan to talk about a lot more, like social media and getting our message to be more mainstream. So look forward to that in the future. If you guys are interested in everything Josh has to say, please go check him out. Find him online at joshuaspodek.com. That's where you can read his blog, you can find links to his podcast, his Twitter, and all the various interviews and things that he's done, as well as his TED Talks. I highly recommend you go check all of his stuff out. Josh Spodek is the reason that I started Verdant Growth. He is such an inspiration to me, and I hope you guys look into him more. If you guys enjoyed this content, be sure to hit the like and the subscribe button down below. Check out all the other parts of this conversation too. I'll link them all down below. The entire talk was so engaging and interesting. I really hope you guys will check out every single part of this chat with Joshua Spodek. Thank you guys so much for watching. Eugene and Verdant Growth, out.